Hello, good day to you all, wherever you may be. This might be the first ever vlog that I plan on uploading. I've chosen one of a few topics that are dear to my heart, although some might say I'm not entitled to voice any opinion on the matter. And this issue is ladies, adult woman. I'm not a woman, I'm not a mother. I like to believe I'm heterosexual. I am a live-in father, meaning that my partner and I share the same roof with our two little daughters. I have certain ideas about motherhood and adult ladies who are not mothers as well. I'm speaking from a land that many would rather term urban, Western, rich, free, liberal, progressive. Many words, many adjectives, and as many of us might know, many adjectives or adjectives generally in many languages, perhaps all languages, spoken languages, are empty words. They say nothing. It is sunny today, it is cold today, she is tall, he is fat, extremely relative, always fighting with one another, adjectives and relativity. But this is spoken language. I, for one, don't know any way around it. So, onwards. An adult lady. We look at the Oscars. The adult lady is dressed in a certain fashion from head to toe. The adult man is dressed in a certain fashion. And then perhaps we might wonder, are they physically comfortable? If they're physically comfortable, really physically comfortable, then they would be psychologically comfortable. If they're physically uncomfortable and somewhat uneasy thanks to what's been placed on their body, again from head to toe, then perhaps they will not be as sincere, honest, and comfortable and relaxed as we would like them to be in such a joyous occasion, like the Oscars, for example. We can change the context and think of workplace uh, or even publicly, anonymously, when you walk by an adult lady. And we're humans. We categorize immediately, we taxonomize the other person within a split second. Peripheral vision, maybe the person's 400 feet away, and we've pigeonholed them because we're humans and we do that fundamentally, if not consciously, then subconsciously. So, why? Why do we insist on generally covering our better halves, the majority of any given society, women, females, in a certain way that's most often than not rather impractical? They are physically uncomfortable. It would be perhaps very difficult to say otherwise. And a medical professional would readily testify that they are physically uncomfortable and, more importantly, perhaps detrimental in the long run, of course. High heels or their shoulder bag are one of many examples, or the necktie for adult males. These things are unhealthy and cannot be demonstrated as physically comfortable. So there is this particular issue we're trying to discuss here, or I'm thinking out loud with you, in the hope of material gain. That is my explanation, my justification, my disclaimer, to be repeated many times. Material gain. I am here trying to gain material so that we can perhaps own legally this particular home as opposed to rent, assuming that, of course, it is uh, rented and it is mine. All these things are not directly relevant, but the point is adult women and why they present themselves publicly covered in a certain garb. One person seems like a ninja, another person seems like a precariously balanced, relatively underclad uh, creature made of porcelain, rather fragile, on a relatively cold day. Of course, lots of adjectives and relative relativistic terminology again to repeat that, but it's important to note this: verbal communication. We open our mouths and words come out. Music, sound. Most of us who communicate this way, it's really for me a passion to try to understand what's behind saying this. And context is king or context is queen. So it's very important to understand why this person is dressed that way. It could be forced by a sibling, forced by a parent, forced by a partner, forced by the office, forced by so on and so forth. Regulations, health and safety regulations demand this type of boot to protect the foot and so on, so that perhaps the employer is not eventually sued. Or perhaps indeed the employer cares very much about the employee's foot, perhaps. But this propagation of infantilism, the doll, and I believe a specific nation state in the 50s or 60s, this term was common, doll. Again, this is all relevant to the English language. Self-evident, I would hazard. The term doll, today seen as very offensive, at the time less so, but why? Why indeed, if there's a Ken and Barbie that we are aspiring to consciously or unconsciously, with our children, with our spouses, with ourselves, irrespective of our biological gender, our social gender, our legally ascribed gender. Why the physical discomfort? If the bottom line, if we are to take the bottom line as the medical professional, this medical professional says, this is the climate, this is the road, if there is a road, this is your body, this is your age, this is what you're carrying, this is how you should cover yourself or not cover yourself. Maybe even they would suggest trying to change one's pace or one's particular gait, but none of that's taken into account whatsoever. But if we are in the enlightened, relatively enlightened part of the globe, which is a minority, so to speak, some will call it the global north, the first world, the industrialized, the advanced, the developed lands. There are different terms you can choose from. Rational. Rational is the word, almost mathematical logic and rational discourse, rational display in the public domain that would convince others eventually to do the same. However, of course, a person might have an ideological imperative that they believe supersedes and is far more demanding than human discourse. And this ideological could be related to the profane, related to transcendental, so on. So dogma, ideology, belief, conviction are perhaps synonyms, are perhaps inaccurate synonyms. It really does depend how each adult covers their body. As I was told once, a person who gets up one day and goes outdoors in precisely what they had on during sleep, if they had anything on, is making a choice as well. So we are making choices in every conscious waking moment. Why? Again, to get back to the point of this particular video installment or vlog, incidentally my first, why is this adult woman walking precariously and apparently, to my eyes, to my understanding, clearly uncomfortable? Is this a rational, fully developed adult? Lots of judgments. I don't know why this person is absolutely covered in this thick, apparently synthetic material when it's perhaps 35 or 40 degrees centigrade. I don't know the convictions, the motivations, how this person's arms are tied, figuratively speaking. Is the person's arm tied because this person wants to nest as soon as possible, so this person wants to attract an appropriate male as soon as possible due to the biological clock ticking away, now that this person's possibly approaching or has already started her 5th decade on Earth? There's that serious factor that seems to be valid across time and space. Rich, poor, urban, rural, global north, global south, the biological fact, biological hourglass for an adult woman. It is unfair. It is unfair. Again, it's unfair, even if the adult woman is quite convinced of this particular situation and doesn't see it as unfair. Yin yang, A feeds B, B feeds A. Adult male knows that the adult female wants this, so the adult male goes ahead, pardon me, doing this or saying this or dressing this or walking this or eating like that, and vice versa. In the case of heterosexual dynamic, and heterosexual seems to be the majority, the dominant scenario across time and space at the time of recording. Progressively less so, perhaps, but at the time of recording, it would be fair, perhaps in an anecdotal way, to say that heterosexual unions are dominant amongst humans across the rich and poor lands, rural, urban, and any other obligatory binary and dichotomy that we employ in spoken language, be it English or other languages. Good, bad, urban, rural, man, woman, with child, without, so on and so forth. Again, why? To repeat the same interrogative. Why? Is this how we want to treat the ladies that we're involved with? We're all involved with ladies, colleagues, mothers, partners, daughters, lovers, neighbors, the woman who sells you the bread every morning, family doctor. We're all involved with ladies somehow or other. Need not be sexual, but we're involved with ladies. And when the lady seems to be in physical discomfort, perhaps she's smiling. But why? Why? This footwear, this clothing is not made for this particular road, this particular climate. It's not made for your particular spine, your particular shoulder. What is the imperative? If you paid X for all of this that's on your body, perhaps you could pay half of X for something that's much more comfortable and much healthier, the professional would tell us. Then again, to repeat, we don't know why this person is covered in this particular fashion or uncovered in this particular fashion. Covered, uncovered, there's something on the body. I don't know of a single society today, in terms of an urban society, nation state, and so on, where a person is absolutely naked as an adult. They might exist, sure, and there are nudist colonies, there are indigenous communities, and so on and so forth. But I'm sure that whoever is hearing this, listening to this, follows that particular line of thought. So there's always something on our body, from head to toe, from the hat or perhaps the wig down to the shoes or perhaps the sandals. There's always something on our body in the public domain. Laws don't allow, and cultures and societies disallow absolute nudity in the public domain on a day-to-day scale. As such, this could change dramatically in the near future. We do not claim prophecy. We, of course, plural, first person, somewhat inadequate. Indeed, all of this could be seen as an exercise in arrogance and pomposity. But if I have not said it before, this is the disclaimer, loud and clear. I'm doing this for material gain. Material gain. Tangible material gain. Not that I will take it eventually when I go, my death, and so on, but for those that we have brought into this world, directly or indirectly. Conception, ideology apart. We have two little girls, and we own nothing tangible on this earth. We would like to own a home in particular, a certain time and space for this home, square meters to be more specific, in this particular urban center, the city here. So why? It's 15 minutes, more than enough, perhaps indeed. Why do people, women in particular, but also men, wear what they wear? The necktie is seen as formal and fancy and sought after and obligatory. The high heels or the heels or the shoulder bag or the where does climate stand? The road that you walk on, the stairs that you perhaps climb, your employer, if one exists, your partner, your child demanding that you wear this, or the man grows his beard in that specific way, or the man grows his hair in that specific way, or removes his hair. So a lot of this cuts across the gender divide. If it is a binary of male, female, yin yang, uh, however, the shorter end of the stick in my eyes would seem to be the adult female, who seems to have far less choice in the public domain than her male counterpart, irrespective of time and space. Issues of relativity. Well, that's more than enough for this first installment. Comment or don't comment. I'm not sure if that will be activated or this will even be uploaded. But if you can somehow help directly or indirectly towards my tangible material gain, I thank you. And I wish you the same. But I also wish you the best of health, first and foremost, always. Thank you.